Hey, everybody. Thank you for joining us today. And we're just going to do a live today, kind of go over some of the fun that Teri's been up to on her last adventure, and then just go over some interesting travel stuff that's going on. But first of all, Teri hasn't been on live before. This is Teri, for those of you who haven't met her before.
Well, I did. I was live with you when we were in Orlando.
Oh, that's right. That's true. Yeah. You just haven't done the more sterile version here where we
It's definitely more fun when you're in destination, that's for sure, but it is what it
is. So yeah, why don't you go ahead and you can start us off. Tell us about your trip. Where'd you go? Who'd you go with? And all that good stuff.
So I had the opportunity to adventure out on Rocky Mountaineer. So if you're looking and you see the picture, that is the train that we, when we got on it in Moab. So they have two options in the United States if you wanted to stay in the United States and travel. And they go from Moab, Utah to Denver, Colorado, or you can do the route in reverse and start in Denver, Colorado, and go into Moab. Due to airline pricing, the best way for us to do it this time around was to start in Moab and end in Denver. So we chose to go up to Moab 2 days early before the train was set to depart and experience Moab, which honestly, in the entire trip was my absolute favorite. But I am not a typical person. I guess I love the outdoors and being kind of adventurous. And Moab is the tiny town that is perfect for that. We were able to do some paddle boating down the Colorado River. We went and hiked in Arches National Park and went up to the Delicate Arch. And it was just a really good experience. The tiny little town in Moab's got 2 or 3 main streets, and you can venture around to all the little shops and eat at the little local places. It was a very good time. When it came time for us to depart on the Rocky Mountaineer, we met at the Moab Adventure Center. We had gotten our bag tags before that. They picked up our bags that morning, took them to the train for us, gave us a few hours downtown to have lunch and things before we took off. We did have a slight delay on our embarkation. We were delayed, I think, about two hours maybe, and then even a little bit more while we were on the rail, because there's certain parts of the track where only one train can be on the track at a time, and some other trains sometimes have priority over this passenger train, and we had to sit and wait a few times for them to come through. That likely wouldn't have happened had we not been delayed in the first place. But because of the original delay, it set us back while we were on the track. We wouldn't have had to pass these other people. So I'm going to kind of pop through some of these pictures for you. Again, this is the main train. I think there were 8 cars on the train. We only used 3 of them on our way back. We actually only had 18 people on the trip going from Moab to Denver. So not even a full car. Better picture, side view. I may have some duplicates here. So this very last card at the end is actually the one that we were in. Here we go. Getting on. So this is one of the lounge cars where you can get up from your regular seat and just kind of go hang out. There is a bar on the opposite side. I really liked the standing tables that you see at the front of the picture, giving you an opportunity to get out of the chair. So that was a great shot of us taking off. This is the breezeway I'm standing in. It's where the cars connect to each other. So you can walk from one car to the other car or you can stay in these breezeways to get fresh air and kind of get a really more clear view of the scenery. We spent a lot of time in these breezeways. They did have another technical train term to them, but I cannot remember it for the life of me. They serve you lots of very good drinks. So this is another one of the lounge cars, and the bar is at the back of it that you can see. Here we go, a closer picture of the bar. Couches you can sit on and look out the side windows. Duplicates. That was my husband that I was visiting with. This was that first car, and the bar that's in that car. This bar was not, there wasn't somebody tending to this bar, but they had the car open as a place to sit. And this is where you are seated when you're in Silver Plus. So the difference between a silver ticket and the Silver Plus ticket is these extra windows that you can see across the top. I wish I had a pointer. That are kind of on the angle. They give you a better view of what's happening around you and scenery. These chairs, I thought, were actually very comfortable, a whole better level than an airline seat. They laid back probably to a 45-degree angle, and you could prop your feet up on a little step that they had underneath the seat in front of you so that you could get into just a more comfortable position while you were chilling. This is where they also served you all of your meals. You came back to your seat for your meals. My husband's sitting at the piano. I'm sure there's going to be a few more. I probably should have sorted through those a little better. View out the side windows in the lounge car. Some duplicates. I tried to sort through them, but there was just so much. Here we go. Out that breezeway again. Love that shot. It was my favorite place to be here. One of the drinks. So very high-end drinks, very good quality, top-notch liquor. All of the juices that they used were fresh squeezed juices that they did right there, like fresh squeeze in the lime, the lemon, the orange. This was their signature drink for this trip. It had a really long, ridiculous name. Rocky Mountaineer, one way. It was crazy. Basically, it was the recipe for a pina colada, but without the coconut, because that was the one thing she didn't have behind the bar was the coconut. So I tasted it, was like, oh, let me try it. And then I renamed it for the trip, and they referred to it as Colorado Sunshine because I've never had a drink that tasted like sunshine, never tasted sunshine before, but if I could, it was that drink. Very good. So you can see on the left in this picture, the fresh squeezer for the juices. Very nice. Just lots of pictures. I know I'm clicking through them kind of quick. This was the Utah-Colorado state line. They just wrote it up on the mountain like that. So I took a picture as we crossed the state line from Utah into Colorado. The mountains and everything on the Utah side are very red rock, very desert style. And then when you cross into Colorado, I'm going to get there in a second, you start seeing a lot more greenery as you switch into the Rockies. We're getting greener now. Oh, here's a video. You ride right along the edge of the Colorado River in a lot of areas. And at some points, when you look over that, out that window in that breezeway, you feel like you're right on the edge of the water because the train tracks are right at the edge in some of those spots. Very, very neat experience. This one wasn't too crazy. You can see all the cars driving on a road on the other end. One of my favorite parts of this adventure were the areas where there were no roads. There was no other people. It was only the train tracks. And in that case, only people that were on that track ever got to see that part. And so it made it very unique in that there was some areas where only few eyes have seen. Your stopover when you do this adventure is in a small mountain town called Glenwood Springs. This is a map of their little area. Now, because of our delay, we got into this town at 10 p.m. at night. And so we really didn't get to experience Glenwood Springs. It was it was a disappointing aspect. I wish I would have had more time there. We had originally booked some time at one of their local hot springs, but because of the delay, we weren't able to get there and actually experience it. We did get up a little early the next morning. Of course, my crazy self ran around the entire town to see where everything was. And then we went back out to grab some pictures before we reboarded the train the next morning. So Rocky Mountaineer is not a sleeping train. There's no sleeping cabins or I'm not sure what they call them on trains, honestly. They stop in different towns and you disembark, you get off, you check into your hotel room. Now, the train crew, they move everything for you. You don't have to grab any of your bags or anything. They're in the room waiting for you when you get there. You get your key as you're getting off the train. They hand you your key and you can go straight up to your room. More little pictures of this town. That was the hotel that we stayed in, Hotel Denver. It had a very kind of European vibe. It's older, so the rooms were a bit smaller, but still it was clean. It was nicely, everything was put together well. It's a great shot from one of the bridges in town there. Panoramic view. That's the train down there. This the little area, the little one that's almost right in the middle. That's the little train station. Go in the other direction. Underneath of the bridge, there was a bunch of little shops that you could visit. Now, the next morning, we were able to get into one and grab a Danish for breakfast. We didn't have to. The train serves amazing food. I'm terrible about food pictures. I didn't get any food pictures, but everything that they served was wonderful. And I was kind of shocked. I was like, how did they get such good food on a train? But the food was very high quality. And I shouldn't have expected any less once I saw them fresh squeezing the juice for the drinks. Obviously, very high-end luxury here. Another shot of the little town, Glenwood Springs. It is very hard to see in this picture, and I don't know if I got any direct pictures of it, but on top of the mountain in the background, you can see a few things sticking up. That's an amusement park at the top of the mountain. So just wild that a roller coaster, they have one, I think it's called Cliffhanger or something like that. And the roller coaster goes out off the side of the mountain and then circles back around. So just, we obviously didn't get to get up there and experience it, but we could see it from afar. And I was like, I need to come back here and go to this amusement park because I love amusement parks. Train station. And now these pictures are where we're really getting green because we are moving in to the Colorado side. Now, some of them are videos. We tried to keep them kind of short, easier to share here and anywhere else. I don't want to take up all your time with videos. I was hoping that at least one of them that pops up would be one where we went through a tunnel. On the Colorado side, I think there was over 40 tunnels that we went through. The biggest one that we went through was called the Moffett Tunnel. I think they said it was 6.5 miles long. And it took us about 15 or 20 minutes to get through that tunnel. So there was a lot of time where you were just in pure darkness. And in my head, I'm going to show my age, I go back to thinking about that scene in the original Willy Wonka where they take the boat through the tunnel and all those weird pictures pop up on the wall. And I was like waiting for something crazy to happen. So some excellent landscaping views. This is one of those areas here. You see no roads. Coming around the curve, we're able to get a picture of the front of the train from the back of the train. And this might be one of the ones where we go through a tunnel. You get really close to the landscaping when you're in those breezeways where you kind of got to pull your head back if you go by a tree because they can branch into you. Maybe it's not. I thought it was going to be one of the ones that showed you a tunnel. A few more seconds. And nope, just beautiful scenery. And here we go. I don't know how many. That was my husband again. Another really great landscaping shot. Boom. I don't even know how many more I have. And one more. So you can see the Colorado River down there. There were very few areas where we ventured away from sight of the Colorado River. Oh, we are going to go into a tunnel right here. Oh, he pulled back. You don't want to smack your phone on the tunnel. And skipping through. Okay. You can see the front of the train. It's going to go through a tunnel. It comes out and goes through another one like right afterwards too. There were several in a row. Like I think they said there was between 30 and 40 little tunnels that we went through. Some of them you would still see light from both sides because they were that short. And then, like I said, that really long one, just darkness. Had to turn the phone on the side. They built these tunnels just close enough to fit the train through. So you can see how close. And that's it. You get just that tiny bit of space. And then light at the end of the tunnel. Very, very cool. Obviously, deep into Colorado at this point. Nice and green. Getting closer to Denver. Boom. And some shots of me staring out the little breezeway. I guess my husband was on a kick of taking pictures of me. I think I told him to knock it off at this point. So beautiful, beautiful pictures. All right, I think I'm wrapping up here close to the end. Them serving me a drink. That was, I think her name was Crystal. Maybe it was Cheryl. Like I said, they serve you lots of, they want you to enjoy those drinks. It is all inclusive, so your food and your drinks are included when you're on this train. So you definitely want to take advantage, hence me not remembering many of their names. This was our menu while we were on board. So you can see, it's probably pretty small for you. So the first day we boarded, they gave us some hors d'oeuvres, and they let you take the hors d'oeuvres wherever you were on the train. So we weren't sitting in our seats for this one. We were in the lounge car, and they just brought them into us. But they did ask that we went back to our seats for our meal. They gave you a choice. It wasn't just one thing on the menu. There were a few different things so that if you are not a fish person, you had a meat to pick from. If you are a meat and vice versa. Now, if you have special dietary needs, they do take that into consideration and make some accommodations for you to the best of their ability with what they have on the train with us. Breakfast was great the next morning too. And that's it. That's a long tunnel. See how it went black? This is a long tunnel. Long, like 5 seconds in the darkness, and then back to the light again. Maybe another one. Yeah, we were having fun with the tunnels. And this is when we we're pulling into the Denver station where you depart in Denver. When you get off of the train, they have a bus there that will take you to your destination. If you're staying in a hotel that's an extension of or in partnership with Rocky Mountaineer, they will take you to that hotel, or they will also take you to Union Station. We went to Union Station, and then we were able to jump on one of the local trains to take us over to our hotel. It was very convenient. It was very quick. And then it jumps backwards again. So I think that was it. And I'm going to stop sharing and jump back so that I can see what's happening here. All right. I went through it kind of quick, but trying to give everybody an overview. It was a neat experience. I'd say there's definitely a certain client for this experience. It was geared slightly towards an older crowd. We were the youngest couple on the train. There's potential for it to be a great experience even for the younger crowd. Like, we were able to be very, very active and move around and do stuff while we were in Moab. And then those 2 days on the train, it really kind of forces you to slow down and gives you a rest before you get to the next destination and you start running around and doing all kinds of stuff and visiting and being a tourist, right? We were teasing kind of because we were like, wow, this is moving kind of slow. So the train does move. If you've not ridden a train before, or if you've only ever been on a train in the cities for like public transport, because I grew up outside of Chicago, so I take the L to be in Chicago all the time. Those trains actually move really fast. So the pace of the Rocky Mountaineer was a little slower, a little more reserved. I was okay. Got to kind of force yourself to, okay, let's just take a break. And the bartender had said, oh, even our older folks, in the 70s, they stay awake for this whole thing. And I was like, okay. And I know there was definitely a few times where my husband and I were like, because we're just so used to moving a lot and being very active. So when you're forced to sit and kind of relax, you end up nodding off sometimes. Another thing I think with that also was that it was a very, very low occupancy trip with only 18 passengers. And so there wasn't a lot happening. Everybody was kind of quiet. And they said that when that train is full, that they can sometimes run with 100, 150, 200 passengers when they've got all of those cars filled. So that would be a completely different vibe, I'm sure. And you definitely have the option to just interact with a lot more people, which would help with the slowness of it. I did learn a few things about trains. Trains cannot ascend or descend at any more than 4%. So that chug up the mountain couldn't be any more than 4%. It cannot make it up anything steeper. And on the decline, 4% is the max, but they try to keep it at 2% because at 4%, the train can run away. Nobody wants that. I asked about why, because I really loved those breezeways and being able to be outside, and you just felt that much closer to nature that way. And I asked why there wasn't an open cart, like one that you went to that was just open. And they said that If they have an open cart, there is a law that they cannot move at more than 30 miles per hour.
Oh.
Now, I don't think that we did because of the delay and the having to move and switch to the side. I don't think there was any point where we moved at more than 30 miles per hour, but typically they do sometimes have to move at that speed in some areas. So that is why they do not have an open car on this particular route. At least that's what I was told. So again, really neat experience. If you are a train aficionado, if you have grown up building those model train sets and you just adore trains, you'll love it. It is going to be a perfect fit for you. If you are very active and you're not prepared to slow down, it throws you off a little bit. So you just kind of have to be in the right mindset for those few days that you are on board. They have much more detailed, with a lot more stops and lasts a lot longer. They're routes that are in Canada, but few. Little is available here in the States. So.
Did you see any animals? I didn't see any pictures of any animals. Did you see any wildlife?
We did get to see eagles, lots of bald eagles. But every time somebody would go, "Eagle," and you grabbed your phone with the camera, they were gone because they were pretty quick. So I think there was maybe 5 or 6 different eagles and eagle nests that we were able to see. I just cannot move as fast as an eagle. Won't blame it on the drinks.
Yeah, in Canada, I think you see a lot more wildlife on their Canadian ones. If I've heard correctly, there's a lot of
and it might depend on the time of year too. You have to think that when we went just last week, right, in Moab, when you're leaving Utah, it's very like Phoenix. The temperature was already up over 95. So during the day when you're on the those animals are trying to seek shelter and stay cool at that time. So they're not out because of just the weather. And then when you move up in towards Colorado, the weather was nice enough for us to stand out on the breezeway. Other people didn't. And I think that some of that is being from Phoenix. My husband and I are very used to the heat. So it wasn't bothering us to be out in that breezeway where some people might have been uncomfortable at that temperature. It wasn't their choice. So, but
okay.
It was neat.
Yeah, it looked like a good experience. And I mean, I know the slowing down part, like last time Nate and I did a cruise, we didn't get the Wi-Fi and stuff kind of for that reason to force ourselves. So I think sometimes it's good to do that, but it is hard, especially when you're not used to it.
Oh, for sure, totally. And there was no connection. And back there where there was no roads and there was no nothing, there was no using your phone other than for a camera. It was pretty, yeah.
Like talk or read or do all those things that we aren't used to doing.
Or you do this, and you go.
Take a nap.
10 minutes later, you wake up, you're like, are we there yet? So I think the saddest part for me is not being able to experience Glenwood Springs because of the delay that we had. I really wish that we could have had more time in that tiny little mountain town because it was really cute. It was super cute. But that's similar to the airlines. There's things that are out of their control. There's certain rules that they have to follow. I mean, you can't have 2 trains on one track. It doesn't work like that when they're headed opposite directions. So it is what it is. It was a unique and different experience. Yeah.
Yeah, and kind of at the end of our thing here, I want to add to that kind of the delay thing. The summer is probably the most clustered travel summer I've ever witnessed. So just for anybody who is going to be traveling this summer, just take your patience with you because flights, I just had multiple people leave this week and everybody's flight was delayed. Like it is just,
yes,
it is the way things are right now. I guess the positive news is at least you don't have to take a COVID test to get back into the United States anymore. So woo-hoo for that.
As a U.S. citizen, because I know we have a lot of people on here that are still from other countries. So if you are from another country, you're at this time need to be able to show your proof of vaccination. If you are a U.S. citizen, you can now come home without taking a test, and obviously you do not have to prove your vaccination status as a U.S. citizen. So that's been very, very nice. If you are traveling, whether you've booked with us, another travel agent, or yourself, make sure that you register yourself on your airline so that you can receive updates directly from the airline. Maybe a few days before your trip, when you do your 24-hour check-in, get your email on there, put your phone number on there so that they can send you updates for their delays and cancellations. Whether you are booked with a travel agent or you booked on your own, which please don't do that. But if you're delayed and you're already in the airport or within 24 hours of your flight, you're considered day of travel. Talk to the airline directly and try and work with them at the airport to get on the next available flight. Especially if you're already in destination trying to return home, we can sit on hold for 5 hours to get through when you can talk to the customer service counter and may have better luck. Obviously, we'll fight for you on our side and we'll be on hold waiting for you, but you're likely to have better success dealing directly with the counter once you're already in the travel situation. If it's prior to travel, completely different, of course, contact your agent and we'll make sure we get everything fixed and updated for you. But day of travel or in destination, your best bet is going to be for you to work directly with the airline at that counter, because you're probably already at the airport, to get on the next flight.
Yeah, they have a lot of power too. And usually they know a little bit more than the call center people when they work at the airport. So sometimes you can get better things happening there. They have more options. And make sure you let your travel insurance know too if you have a delay or something like that, because you can get actually money back for that. So it's always good.
Do not travel without travel insurance right now. Do not. Since COVID started, do not travel without travel insurance. Yes, you don't have to take that test to get home right now, but the airlines are still having issues. You've got delays, you've got interruption, you've got baggage getting lost.
Some airlines are just canceling. Like they're just they're not even, it's not even delays. They're just outright canceling flights and just like leaving people stranded. And then there's a couple airlines that are not doing so well financially right now, or they're in the middle of selling or they're merging. So yeah, it's a crazy world, and it's going to continue to be that way. So,
but it's getting better.
It is getting better. But I just think we all just have to be a little bit more patient, as to like we're just having to. I mean, I know you and I, like, we're just used to being on hold anymore. Like I just learned to work, and I got to go pee. I just put the phone on mute, I'm on hold for hours. When is the cruise line or airline going to get back to me or whatever? So yeah, it is what it is, but it is getting better. But I think we'll all have to have a lot more patience, at least for a while. And so, and yeah, but well, thank you for sharing that trip with us. It looks really cool. I think I would enjoy that. I really want to do the Canada one.
Yes, I would love to go up there and do, because they go through Banff and they go to, what is it? Is it Lake Eloise or Lake Louise? What's the one that's up there?
I don't know. It's just really pretty up there. We house sat in BC, out in the middle of like in this village called Nakusp, and it just the British Columbia and the inner Canada area is just really gorgeous. Like there's some landscape that is like just would blow people's mind away. They don't even know that it's there. So I'd love to see it. And so I've heard, and I haven't looked for sure, but I think almost anything you can do in Alaska, you can actually do in Canada, like glaciers to like going and seeing the whales and stuff. So if you don't want to go to Alaska for whatever reason, maybe it's too expensive or whatever, and you want to do Canada, that Rocky Mountaineer is a good option to go through. Maybe you don't like boats. Maybe you don't want to do a cruise. And that's usually, I mean, they do have trains in Alaska too, but I've heard better things about the Rocky Mountaineer than I've heard about the Alaska.
Yeah.
I don't know. I haven't been on either, so I can't give a personal thing, but I've heard really good things about Rocky Mountaineer and their service and the food and all that stuff. So
the service was absolutely top notch. When we found out about the delay after we had already purchased our tickets for that hot springs, the not the conductor, I can't think of his title, but the main manager who was running the train, he came out and tried to hand us $100 of his own money to refund us for the loss that we were going to have, because he tried to call the hot springs place to ask them if they would refund us our money because of the delay, and they told him no. So he tried to bring us his own money. Of course, I wouldn't take it. I told him, if you really, really want to give this to me, I said, give it back to your crew for the tip. Give it back to the crew for the tip. So that's what he ended up doing. We ended up putting it in an envelope and giving it back to the crew as a tip. So
that was nice.
Yeah.
Do they offer excursions? Like, could you guys have booked some stuff through them directly, or do you have to do everything, any extra you want to do on your own?
I think going into that little town, you're actually there because you're not there quite very long. I think it's pretty much up to you to adventure around and do that on your own. On the ends, though, starting in Moab or going into Denver, there was things that you could add on those ends, but your time in that town is so small.
Okay.
Yeah.
But as they work there, I mean, they've only been doing this U.S. portion for what, like 6 months now?
It's still fairly new. Yeah. And then obviously there was all that. I think they started the routes before COVID hit, but then, they had those years of nobody could go. So now they're kind of rebuilding, they're trying to get their name out there and just rebuilding it. They're trying to put a foothold into Moab. I think that they'll need to grow there a little bit. Like, there is some signage here and there, but they don't actually have their own stomping grounds, so to speak. There's their own office. So they kind of partner with that Moab Adventure Center right now. And I think that over time, as they grow, they'll probably have their own, landing ground as to, okay, this is where everybody's going to come and meet. This is where you're going to drop off your bags type thing. But
yeah, no, I think it'll just get better. And I mean, they know what they're doing. It's just building those relationships with the governments, with the tourism, with the that's not like in that hot springs, maybe in the future, they're going to realize that it's beneficial to work with them, and they will get some,
for sure,
better in the future because it is, I mean, there's going to be delays, and the train tracks are used by, all the different, like, we have tons of trains here. So I know all about the trains, and sometimes they stop for whatever reasons, and they block the lines. And so train travel can be, inconsistent, just like anything else. And
Side note, in Moab, there is no public transportation, and things are kind of spread out a little bit. So if you want to be able to go into the Arches National Park or to Canyonlands or whatever, you are going to need a rental car. They have 2 rental car facilities in Moab: Canyonlands, which is a local company, and Enterprise. So get your car booked ahead of time. I did not realize that going into it. I was like, oh, when we get to Canyonlands, because the Canyonlands airport is in Moab, and it's a very small airport. Like, you get off the plane outside and your luggage is handed to you outside. I was like, oh, I'll just grab an Uber when we get to the airport to take us to our hotel. And they were like, yeah, we don't have Ubers in Moab. There's one guy, his name's Josh. He doesn't feel like working today. Oh my gosh. Very, very small town. I was like, I think we're going to need a car. And fortunately, they had one little red Power Wheel left, a little Chevy Spark or whatever that was out there that we were able to grab up. But now I know that. And so for anybody that doesn't know that, now you know, because that would have been difficult to get around for sure.
It's hard. Like, you don't expect that in the United States. Like, you just expect every place has Uber.
Yeah, but they were seriously like, we don't have Uber, we just have Josh, and he doesn't feel like working today.
Oh, that's funny. Okay, well, I guess we better get this thing ended. It's been 40 minutes, but I really appreciate you taking the time to share with us, and we'll get back on here again sometime soon. I haven't been too consistent lately, but try to get these back and going. And anyways, send us your questions. You have any questions for us that you want us to answer in the future? We'd love to hear from you. And thank you, Teri. It was great.
Bye.
Bye.